Like what advice would you give in terms of helping grow, nurture the business and then also again tapping into your audience so then you can, build a community, right? Which is so powerful.
I think it goes back to part of our conversation about your target audience. So knowing.
My name is Sugira Rubasha, the co-founder of the Rubasha Family Podcast. Now, I know you have a story to tell. I know you have a mission and vision that you obsess constantly about, and you're solving problems in the marketplace. So I want to sit down and get your story. I want to hear the real juice and authentic of who you are, because at the end of the day, people want to know about you. They care about you as a human being. So this is your chance to come on the Rubasha Family Podcast and be part of our founder series. We are hosting a founder series with entrepreneurs from all over the world who had an imagination to create their business. We want to know you, the person, and how you're solving problems in the marketplace. So if you want to get in touch, fill out our quiz. Now, the quiz is a way for us to qualify you to see if you can come on the show. We can really see how powerful your brand is, where you are, so we can have you as an industry expert to come and tell your story. Business and life is all about communication. How can you tell stories, and how can I sit down and ask you questions that are going to get to your soul? See you soon.
Welcome back to the Rubasha Family Podcast. We're here for another special episode. I'm here with the lovely Lindsay Sullivan. Lindsay, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. We can see your amazing personal branding in the back there as usual. I love it. I love it. And again, going even back to the title of your business, the small business photographer, how so niche it is. Yeah, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking today about branding and niching down into a particular audience. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like just real quick, just to start it off, how's your week been? Like what's been up since we last spoke?
Yeah, I've been doing some speaking, which has been really fun. There's a really fun event called Entrepreneur. And so it was a
Oh
bunch
yeah,
of
yeah,
business
yeah.
owners that were nerdy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was great. I got to talk about the AI image generation and just talk a little bit about that. So yeah,
Mhm.
I've been doing some speaking, photography sessions, did a really nice headshot session the other day. We had this beautiful park in Calgary. It's got all these gorgeous flowers.
Mhm.
It's like a botanical garden, and we did some headshots there. So yeah, that was fun.
And let me ask you, like on the speaking, what was that like? Like, because I feel that's so important, like us as entrepreneurs, us
Mhm.
as founders, to be speaking. Like, it's a whole. Not only is it a whole career in itself, but like just being able to be speaking in front of people, I think is so valuable. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about that. What did you do? Like, what was it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I knew the host from a previous event. I had applied to speak at AI Evolved earlier in the year. That was one of his earlier events, and yeah, and so you can kind of reach out to places to speak, or sometimes people will reach out to you. And I've had that happen as well, where they reach out and say, "Hey, we know you talk about confidence in front of the camera, or this or that, and so we'd love to have you talk." So part of it is just kind of letting people know that you want to speak, because then once people know that, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you would be great here," and they introduce you to the host and things like that. So I think part of it is just letting people know that you want to speak and where and who your audience is, and then yeah, the thing I really like about speaking is that you get a bigger audience. So for me, I want to be able to change people's lives, and I can do that one to one with brand photography sessions. I can do that with my course, teaching them how to create AI images, but you can also do that with speaking too. So they may not necessarily buy into your program, but you can still impact them in a positive way. So I feel like it helps you get your message out on a wider scale and have a bigger impact. And then of course, it gets more awareness of your brand, what you do, and then you can also promote it as well. So when you're, on your social media and stuff like that, that can show you as an expert because you're speaking, So hosts are only going to choose you if they feel like you're an expert in the topic and that sort of thing. So it helps you establish that expertise as well. And people see that you're speaking in different locations about these topics. They're like, oh yeah, they know about this. So yeah, a lot of benefits to it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. One thing, like you said, that it also sparked in me because I've also been doing speaking as well, speaking in front of people and I've really loved it. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing was like you're right in terms of you reach more people. It's also kind of like social media in a way because when you speak,
Yeah.
like instead of you having those one-to-one meetings with people, you're doing it
Mm-hmm.
in a way where now you do that at scale. So
Yes,
very similar to the social media
totally.
thing instead of like me just having this meeting or this event with one person. Now, if I just put it on social media, I record it, then it reaches more people. So I think speaking is that same thing where it's like you're able to show your value, your expertise, who you are at scale
Yeah.
more, and it's powerful. And then you mix that with now the social media aspect, so people see you doing it.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
that's powerful.
That's true. And the other thing is too, like it just it helps people get to know your personality too. So a lot of times when I listen to speakers, I go, oh, I would really like to work with that person, because you get
Mm.
to know them a bit, you get to see their personality, plus their expertise obviously comes through too, but part of it's personality too. So you're kind of like, yeah. So it's like you said, it's kind of like being on social media, people get to know you, but it's like magnified because you're speaking in front of a bunch of people. So it's not like the one-to-ones, which are good. One-to-ones are awesome, but yeah, with the scale, it's easier to reach more people that way with the speaking.
The
Yeah.
scaling, yeah. So let's go into
Mhm.
your business. Like, how long have you been up and running?
Yeah, for me, it's been a little over 5 years.
I bet.
So yeah.
And what's that journey been like?
Yeah, it's been kind of like it's I've gone through a whole bunch of different areas in terms of figuring out where I wanted to specialize and niche down. So I started actually with cosplay photography. I
Mm.
don't know if you're aware of that, but it's where people dress up in costume and then they want to get photos taken.
Mm.
So they're often at expos, like the comic expos and things like that. And so I started taking photos of cosplayers, and then one of them loved her photos so much that she asked for full portrait sessions. And so
Mm.
that's how I got into doing portrait photography on my own, was just because before I'd done it through courses, but so I started doing it with working with cosplayers, and then eventually she wanted a big shoot with a whole bunch of her friends, and so she's like, "We're going to pay you." And that's how my business started.
That's how your
Is
business. Oh,
yeah,
okay. I can get
yeah,
paid for this.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
exactly. And yeah, then I started learning all sorts of different areas, trying different things: family photography, infant photography, headshots. Eventually got into branding, took a course on branding photography and loved it. And so yeah, I just kind of experimented with a whole bunch of different types. And then there were two reasons I got into brand photography. I really like the storytelling aspect of it, helping people figure out what props to bring in, what locations to choose, what poses, to have in the photos to attract their dream clients, all of those kinds of things. I love that whole creative direction side.
Mm.
And then I also found too, when I started my business, I needed photos of myself. And I'd never actually felt photogenic. So I kind of cringed at the idea of getting my own photos, but I'm like, well, I'm a photographer. I need good photos, right? For
Mm.
marketing myself. And so I had a professional photographer take mine. And it was transformational for me, because I realized that anyone can be photogenic, and also just it was the confidence boost you get from having photos that you love of
Mm.
yourself. So being able to actually give those to podcast hosts to promote events to, or promote the podcast, or for networking directories, or on social media, or on your website, like just having good photos is a huge confidence boost. And I thought, you know what, I want to do this for other business owners. I want to help them feel confident in front of the camera and get that visibility and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's how I got into into where I am now.
So like you found out like this is what you loved, and you had a passion for that storytelling aspect,
Mhm.
building someone's
Yeah.
image. So let's talk about that. Like who are majority of your clients, right? Like how, like, okay, yes, you talked about that journey of like, okay, I found out this is what I like. How did you get into like now sticking to that niche? But like, yeah, what's the story between you and your clients? Like, how did you get to like, no, this is exactly who my target audience is? So if I could ask you, who's your target audience in that crew or
Yeah.
of your clientele base, what does that look like?
Yeah, so typically my ideal client is our business owners that are service providers. So they need images of themselves so that people can get to know who they are, then get to see behind the scenes, get to understand what it's like to work with them before they even meet them. And
Mm.
so I work with a variety of different service providers. I haven't super niched, I kind of work with a lot of service providers like chiropractors, hairstylists, life coaches. So it kind of varies a little bit depending what my clients work, what their business is. But the main thing is I'm working with business owners, and that's why I picked the name, the small business photographer. Is getting a lot of inquiries for wedding photography, for family photography, and I can do those, but it's a very different target audience. So for me, when I'm doing all of my, the copy on my website, all of the captions on social media, all the messaging, it would dilute it too much if I was trying to talk to all those different audiences. So I picked business owners, and that way I can really speak to them, talk about the confidence in front of the camera, about building that strong visual brand, about helping people get to know who they are, those kinds of things, and all to do with business and branding and that sort of thing. So yeah.
So is it like, okay, could you break up, like, if you look at all your clientele base, okay, maybe like different industries, but is there a specific age bracket? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, not like a super tight age bracket, but I'd say like maybe like 30 to 50, around that age bracket. Generally, they're established in business. For brand, it kind of depends on the area. For brand photography, oftentimes they're a little bit more established and they have the money to invest in brand photography. So their business has been going for several years and that sort of thing. If they're looking for headshots, they might be starting out, so they might be could potentially be younger crowd or just new to the business area. So kind of depends on the product, I guess, that I'm offering. AI imagery as well, I'm marketing to people that are earlier often in their journey, so they can't afford brand photography yet. And so this is an affordable way for them to create images that fit their brand without having to invest yet in a brand photography session. Brand photography, I think, is still important eventually, but a lot of times when you're starting, you don't necessarily have that budget yet. So that's one awesome thing about AI is you can create on-brand images, and really still get a good elevated brand. Yeah.
And is it specific, like the small business is it the personal brands, or even just them like with their team, or in doing their task, or is it like, no, like I want you like on me personal brand? And then the second question is, out of the small business owners in your target audience, do they have a team? Like how many are they working with? What's like those specifics in like your audience?
Yeah, good question. Some of them are solopreneurs, so they hire contractors and it's really just them working. And then others are a team. So it kind of depends on the business. Generally, the ideal for brand photography is to do, brand photography for the business, so to show behind the scenes, show what it's like to work with them, show what's unique about the business, all of that kind of stuff with photography, but to also bring in the personal brand as well, because the personal brand is what helps people connect to you, the service provider. It just helps you, people get to know them and feel like they know that person, as opposed to, oh, it's just a chiropractor. Instead of just being a chiropractor, it's like, well, they like to garden, or they like Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever it is. There's connecting points there, which help their audience get to know them. So when they step into the clinic, they feel like they already know it based on the photography of the location, the images of them working with clients, as well as knowing about them personally outside of the business. So ideally, people will do both, and you'll get a mix of both in there. But yeah, we definitely take images of like the employees as well, if they need a whole bunch of headshots for the team, or the team working together is often one people like, so showing that team vibe, what it's like to work with them, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So like as a photographer, like in what you're doing, and like providing people that advice and that education, how are you like now marketing to that audience, and looking at like who you're serving? And because like I also see, as you serve your business owners, and like we had on the last podcast, like you have that personal relationship with them, and you get to like know them more. You get to, like you say, encourage them, put them through meditation on like calming down, so you actually get that personal connection. And then what you realize is that those clients have the same, issues, or the same little maybe insecurities as your other clients. Like that's why it's so important to know your niche audience.
Yeah.
So how do you, or what strategies do you have as a photographer, and for other people who have like a similar business to yours, agencies out there? How are you now marketing to that specific person?
Yeah, I think, like you said, kind of figuring out what they all kind of have in common. And maybe not all of them, but a lot of them have something similar in common. It might be they're nervous about stepping in front of the camera. They've never had good photos before, but they know they need them to be visible. So that might be a commonality. And then I put marketing together around how I solve that problem for them. And then also free resources, right? Like I've got a free resource with 10 tips for feeling more confident in front of the camera. And then I might have little tips that I do in videos and talk about, here's, a tip you can have to feel more confident in front of the camera, and just kind of helping them understand, get more comfortable with the idea of being in front of the camera, plus testimonials and stuff like that too. But then other times it's like, the pain point might be they don't have a strong visual brand. Maybe they're embarrassed to send people to their website. They, feel they're always like looking at their competitors or their mentors' sites and going, oh, I wish I had a strong visual brand like that. So there might be some of that happening. Or they just don't have time to do all the photography themselves. And so they're just wishing they could have, a day of photography where we come in, do a whole bunch of different sets, different locations, different outfits, different props, do it all in one session. Hair and makeup's done only in one day, for one session. And then they've got a whole library of images to pull from. So sometimes that's what the pain point is. They just want to be able to have those on-brand images, a whole bunch of them to work with. So I kind of have different messaging. Like I talk about a couple different themes on my social media. So I'll talk about the confidence, about saving time, about building that visual brand. And so those are themes that are common throughout my social media, and then, on the landing pages and things like that. And it depends too, when you're even talking to them, like when you're having a sales call with them, it'll be kind of like, well, people come to me for one of three reasons. And then do any of these resonate with you? And then you kind of get a feel for, okay, this is what's most important to them right now. And then you can talk to them about that. So, yeah.
Interesting. So like, as a founder yourself, how is like most of the business coming in? Is it inbound? Is it sales? Like for other people, in the same position, or people starting out as photographers, right, who have the passion like you do.
Mm-hmm.
What's your advice? But first I would ask you, like, how is business coming in for you now, like 5 years in?
Right. Yeah, I'd say a lot of networking and connections.
Okay,
Is kind of
networking.
my prime. Yeah, a lot of networking. And then not just networking, but making sure you're building relationships. So having coffees outside of networking and building relationships with people. Like for me, for example, marketing people are often a great partner for me because they need good brand photography for their clients. Web designers often need that as well, so they can be a good connection. So just building some key relationships with people and figuring out who serves the same client as me, but that doesn't do photography, but would benefit from their clients having photography. It doesn't have to be brand photography either. It could be something like, say, wedding photographers, for example. Wedding planners are a great connector for them, right? Because the wedding planners are often the ones who give out the names for wedding photographers to their clients. So if you could build a strong relationship with them, then that's a really good referral partner. So just, thinking about who serves a similar client, and then and then obviously social media is important too, because I think it really helps to stay top of mind. I'll like run into people 6 months later. I just met them once at an event, and they'll be like, wow, you're just killing it on social media. And I'll be like, I didn't even realize they saw my post, So it's like, you never know who's seeing it. They may not like it necessarily because they're busy, but if you're staying active on social media, doing the YouTube videos, those kinds of things, like staying active and having snippets from the YouTube onto your social media and stuff like that, then I think it's just there's a whole bunch of elements to marketing. It's not like one solution is going to fix it. It's like a combination of things: networking, the social media, having partners, all sorts of stuff like that, building an email list. Like I've had times where people reach out a year later, they've been on my email list, and they're ready to work with me. So,
So from like a year later, like they've been on your mailing list, and that makes so much sense.
Yeah, even networking. I've had people that I've met, and then 3 years later, they're finally ready to work with me. Which it could be because of budget. They weren't quite ready to invest in brand photography, but their business has grown. But they've known you, and you're staying top of mind. You're seeing them at the events, connecting with them, seeing them on social media, engaging on their posts too, so that you're helping them grow and also staying top of mind at the same time. And so yeah, it can be something that takes a little bit of time. Some people will hire you right away. Like I've had events where I spoke and then people have reached out and been like, hey, I want to work with you. So you can get people right away. But some of the clients I have, it's taken time, to build
Yeah.
that.
You see, oh, so many good things that you said there. And just to break that down, like patience is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
That patience in business to have the long-term strategy ahead and just to keep doing what you're doing. But this ties into the next point is when you mix that patience with that social media being top of mind. So you're consistently with that urgency, just
Mm-hmm.
having that consistent schedule where people see you, right? You're out there marketing your business, being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you mix that patience now with being top of mind, someone you may have met at an event or emailed or wherever, but now they're going to keep seeing you, You're always going to
Mm-hmm.
be on top of their mind. So maybe at that moment they weren't ready, but 2, 3, 4 years later, you're the person they come to.
Yeah.
Right. And that's so valuable, is constantly staying top of mind, but and having that patience in business to know like, hey, it's gonna come. Let me serve the clients I'm doing really well and market that and show that. And then another thing I like what you said is the partnerships, right? Like as a business owner, who
Mm-hmm.
is serving the same as me, and how can now you target people in a way where it's like, let's build a valuable relationship and we serve each other. And that's so true. So when I think about it in my context, like digital marketers, that's a great relationship for me
Yeah.
because they need the content to help with their clients. And so that's where we
Yes.
come in. We do such amazing work, makes their client look good, but it also makes them look good because that referral. So I really like how you said that, for all the people out there who want to be photographers and to be in the position that you're in, that's a great way. Networking, staying top of mind on social media,
Mm-hmm.
having the patience to know like, hey, things take time. And I really love the mailing list too. I also have to get on that as well.
Yeah, no, it can really help just stay top of mind. Even for speaking opportunities, I've had that happen too, where they're like, it'll be an event and they're like, oh, our theme of the month is confidence. We should reach out to Lindsay because I know she talks about confidence in front of the camera. And it's like, again, a year later, it's like they just have been on the email list, they've seen your content.
Senior
And
content.
it's not just like marketing stuff, it's also value, right? Like, so if you have blog, like say you blog, right? I do some blogging, not as consistent as I would like, but I do blogging. And so then you can actually send people to those articles, which provides value for them, give tips and tricks and things like that. And then, you want to have calls to action and stuff too. But it's like, if you can provide value, then they're learning different things, and then also helps them get to know more about your area too, because they might not know, for example, for you, what goes into creating video content. And so you can help them get over some of those fears or those just things they don't know about, processes, just different things. For me, it might be like helping them understand what to wear, what goes into the planning, why they want a strategy for their photos before they have the photographers show up. Like all of those things can then help them start to understand the kind of the important things about brand photography. And then then they'll be ready to reach out and be like, okay, yeah, I know I need this and this, or I want to have strategy, or those kinds of things. So
Wow, so valuable. I think this is such a great conversation. So like, you're 5 years in, you've been doing extremely well. And I like how you're also strategizing. So you're doing what you're doing, which is great, but you're also like, okay, look, the AI and the stock images, like, for also a
mm-hmm.
different tier for maybe the people who have a different budget, whatever, or how can I educate,
Mm-hmm.
nurture this even a younger audience. So going into the future, right? Because that's AI, right? So you're positioning your brand and yourself for the future of what's happening. How can you use AI if you don't have a big budget? Hey, you can still use AI and look, because I think that some of those photos there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of
and
them except for the two of me on the bottom.
yeah.
Those are all AI images, and they're also my brand color. And I can ask for particular client avatars in them. I can
Oh,
ask for certain props to be added in, like the clock or a camera or things like that. So that's one of the benefits to AI is you can actually still customize. It's not, you still want images of yourself, but which is where brand photography comes in. But you don't necessarily need photos of yourself for everything, right? Like you might want to have like the clock image, for example. That's great when I talk about how I save my clients time. I can take a clock image and then I can talk about how I'm solving that pain point for them and pairing the image with the pain point or or the solution that you have for the client. So it doesn't have to necessarily be images of you for every post or everything on your website. You could have some custom stock images that are created with AI instead.
Created with AI. Yeah. So, just position yourself for that long-term growth. So, like, what's your vision now? Like, this topic was about like the niche audience, and I think the
Mm-hmm.
next question will go in like, before we wrap up is more, how can now photographers or people, in marketing, what we're doing, target those people? But like, what's your vision now? Where do you see yourself going with the people who you are serving and what you're doing?
Yeah.
As I said, 5 years, your future is so bright. Like, what do you see in your future?
Yeah, I see kind of scaling what I've already got going in terms of the brand
Mm.
photography and the AI, building my, scaling the course and getting more students in there, but also kind of still staying top of mind and current with things. Because one thing I'd like to add into my academy is creating videos now as well, because you can actually animate some of your images using different AIs like Runway. So I'd like to learn more about that and then turn that into a course for people so they can get some motion added to their videos, which can be great for reels and things like that. So yeah, just kind of really expanding also maybe the visual branding side as well. So adding in more on building that visual brand. And yeah, because there's so many components to building a visual brand. And so I'd like to expand on that a bit as well and really be, an expert in like really help people build that strong visual brand in a variety of different ways. Yeah.
Powerful. Yeah, I think like the video part, like you said, just having that,
Mhm.
building different yeah, pathways where people can come and learn from you. I think it's really cool.
Mhm.
There was a topic that I was thinking about in terms of what you were saying earlier. How do you feel about like where you're going now in terms of, let's say, the video aspect, right? Like where do you see yourself
Mhm.
taking that?
Yeah, I see myself taking that in the AI side of, well, possibly both. Like I have added video onto brand photography sessions as well. So I get, while we're doing the brand photography, we can actually take little Instagram clips, like little short video B-roll clips to use on reels. And so I've added that in as kind of some people really like having video as well for social media. So that's one aspect. But also on the AI side of things, there's just neat things that you can do with adding backgrounds and adding motion and those kinds of things. So and also the editing side of things too. There's tricks and things you can do with quick editing. You can actually, there's one AI that takes your video, and if you're not, say, looking at the camera, you're looking at your notes, like your eye goes to your notes, it actually will move your eyes back so you have eye contact. There's like a button for eye contact.
Crazy.
So there's all these little things that are coming out, so I feel like anything like that would benefit business owners would be something that would be potentially good to throw in the course, and just have this repertoire of video tips and just different resources and programs they could use and things like that to make their life easier. Like it also has a great studio sound. It's called Descript. It's a really good program, and it does a really good job with editing. I did some video testimonials at an event for people, and you know how it can be really loud at events, and people will just come and start talking beside you as you're filming. And you're like,
Yeah.
so it's like it's got a really cool feature that gets rid of that noise and keeps it focused on you and the person you're interviewing. And so it's growing by leaps and bounds. Like staying on top of the technology, I think, is the key, is understanding that if you want to stay you want to stay current and be able to use all of these technologies, and it also save you a lot of time too, because they're things that would take you ages, like editing, for example, editing photos. It used to take me forever to do certain types of editing, but now there's a program that will remove glass glare in like one click. Instead of it taking me like a half an hour to do, it's like gone in a click. So yeah.
And that's why it's so powerful, because you're building all these things, and so now your job will be like just keep speaking. You're speaking, building the brand, going out there, and now you've built such a great system, courses, like all these things where it's just now coming into the business, and you're just growing your empire. So real quick on the speaking, when you are going, are they paid? Or it's more like, hey, can you just come and speak for us, because it is also building your brand? What does that look like, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so most of the ones I've done haven't been paid. I occasionally am have been paid to come in for some photography ones where I talked about cosplay photography and stuff like that. It was more of a workshop kind of thing, but I haven't been doing paid ones. For me, it's more about building my list. And so what I'll do at those events is I'll provide a free resource. They often don't want you selling, like, you know, actual programs or things like that. We often don't have enough time to really establish that trust yet anyway. So so for me, it's about list building. It's about getting people onto my email list. I'll have a free resource for them, just, you know, or maybe they even providing like a copy of the slides or something like that, but then you have it set up so they have to give you the email address, and then they get onto your email, and then you can do a nurturing campaign with them afterwards. So there's that. And then also just visibility. So, you know, becoming the expert, showing yourself as the expert. That's another reason to do the speaking, because then you can promote it on your social media, and then you get known as a person who talks about AI, you know, or whatever it is, or video, like YouTube videos for you and things like that. So you get known as the go-to person. So yeah, I'd say those are my two primary reasons for you can be paid to speak, but I haven't explored those options yet.
And that will come for you. That will come for you later. I think, like you said, it's important to just get those, like for me, get those opportunities, same as you get those, and then your paid they'll come, you know, later down the line. Because I definitely agree with you. And then again, like back on this is just when you're then able to use that on social media, you could like do that. You're speaking in front of people, you know, get those clips, like you said, put it organic, YouTube, whatever. Now you can run an ad on that clip. You know, let's say you run an ad in your radius in Calgary, you speaking in front of, like, it's organic, it's natural, you know, and you're saying a great point about, yes, in your personal brand photography, boom, run an ad against that, you know, so it's so powerful, not only for the organic, you know, revenue side, like it's just insane how good that is. So I definitely agree with that.
Awesome. One other thing too is doing webinars. I've been doing those as well, where I have a free webinar. It can also be a paid webinar as well, like a small fee.
How
but the
often?
idea is to get them. I did about three a month right now, and then I'm going to be automating it, so it's more of an evergreen thing coming up. But for now, it's about 2 or 3 a month, and then and they're free, and so people come and you kind of introduce them to the basics, because a lot of times they don't know what AI image generation is, or they don't understand the quality of the images you can create, how awesome they can be. So showing them that stuff, and then offering the opportunity to work with you with, you know, your course or on a different level. So that's another way of leveraging speaking as well. So it's like your own stage, you know, essentially.
Yeah, I agree. I think even like me, I'm doing webinars, like I'm at 3. I aim to do 1 a week. I think this month I'm on like
awesome
2 to 3. But I definitely agree with you. You're right. Like to then keep having your own stage, you know, and valuable like webinars, workshops in person. And you keep like, even just when you're doing that, also I'm realizing like the people who are asking questions, all the questions people keep asking you, that's feedback, that's content, that's a way that you can collect that information that people are asking about your business, you know, and what they're struggling with. And now you use that and you keep learning again back to our topic and the target audience and who they are.
Exactly. And you were talking about where the business goes too. It's kind of like, well, that's also influenced by what your people are telling you they want as well. And people are telling me they want a little bit more on video, or they're telling me they want, you know, certain resources in the course. And so that's all feedback where you're like, okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I could add that in. Yeah, of course I can talk about that. So yeah, I think that's part of where your business goes too, is what are people saying as well, in addition to what you provide.
So good. So good. So look, you know, as we wrap it off, what advice would you have for the person who was in your shoes when you were first starting out, or even, you know, someone who maybe is working a job, or he's an entrepreneur right now, you know, starting out, right? Like they want to earn, you know, good enough revenue to sustain themselves through what they love doing, right? Which could be capturing pictures of people and helping them tell their stories. Like, what advice would you give in terms of helping grow, nurture the business, and then also, again, tapping into your audience so then you can, you know, build a community, right? Which is so powerful.
Yeah, I think it goes back to part of our conversation about your target audience. So knowing who your target audience is. I mean, it may take a little bit of experimentation to figure out what you love to do. So you may have to, you know, let yourself have that time to explore a few different areas and see what you like, and then niche down and really target your marketing so that you're reaching your target audience as opposed to trying to talk to everybody. So I think really picking that niche, and then just really making sure your marketing fits, building that visual brand as well to help elevate the brand, because that can really help people get to know that you're a professional in your area. A lot of times people have that amateur looking, website or social media, then people aren't necessarily going to be as likely to invest in higher priced services and things like that. So I think if you can elevate the brand early on, target, really niche down to a particular audience and focus your attention there, and then building those relationships as well with partners and networking and stuff like that, and keeping that messaging, right? So when you go to the events, I'm the brand photographer, who also does AI, helps you build your strong visual brand. They don't think of me when it comes to wedding photography, or families are like, Lindsay does this, so it helps them then think of who they can refer to you as well, right?
Who can they refer to you? Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very, very powerful. Yeah, I love it. I love it, Lindsay. It's really good talking to you. As I said, the first one that we did was really cool. I can't wait for them to see that. This one as well, I may just even just go out and just pop it straight away, and because there's other people out there who want to hear this and listen to this. And I just think like having that energy of business owners, you're in our WhatsApp community too, which is amazing having you there.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like us all.
That's a great group that you've created. Yeah. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Speaking of, partners and people that are good to collaborate with, that's a great group.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just like you say, like we were talking about earlier, the patience thing, right? Like we could be all in this group, and then we're just there, and one person like, hey, I'm coming to Canada or something, or someone is here and can refer, and it's just really powerful to keep building just a community of people who are in the same mindset, like asking, hey, what books are you guys reading at the moment? And for you to come in and oh, that's so cool, I can add that to my list. Like that's really
cool. Awesome.
I wanted to ask, is there any questions that you had or anything? If you wanted to ask any questions, feel free.
Oh yeah. Let's see. How about you with your audience? Yeah. How did you pick your audience for
my audience? So like my first client, I met him at the gym, and I had always seen him, and then so we met. He ended up becoming a client, but like, to be honest, I was still struggling with finding my clients because he was my first one. I didn't look at who he was and what I was doing. So like I was still a little bit confused, and it took some time. Like I was thinking, who is my client? But then I started to see small patterns. Like I started to realize like he was the first one. Like he owns, a big migration law firm. He has offices all around the world. So I was also going and speaking to people who were maybe like smaller business owners or who didn't have that budget, right? So then I had to learn quickly that, okay, look, my target audience is a CEO, is a high-level executive in that position who, is ambitious, who doesn't have time to create content. And that's why I'm there. So like once I started to get those other clients, I started to treat him even better, or my other current clients even better, because I knew that their pain points were this, and this. So interesting when I went on the journey of finding out who exactly is my target customer, then it started making me treat my customers even better, because certain questions I wouldn't even ask them, because I'm like, no, he doesn't have time for that. He probably won't even look, just get it done. And, so it made me serve them much better. So that has been my journey, and it's so good now. Like, and that's why I think this was so good, because it's like, yes, who is your target audience? Because now you're speaking directly to them. So like for me, for example, it's like, if you're not a high-level CEO, you're not my client. And I'll say that, like, we partner with high-level CEOs. So when you speak it straight away, you disqualify people immediately, right? Because then you might be like, well, that's not me, So it's like the content is a way for me to give value to everyone who's not in that specific niche. That's what the content's there for, because they can use the strategies for these people or for what I'm doing for themselves. But I think that was really the key, is really finding that. So now it's like, how can I be in that community consistently of my target audience, which is, for example, LinkedIn. So yeah, that's been my journey, which has been great, because then it really helps your business thrive, because you don't waste time. You don't waste time speaking to people who don't have the budget, because you say, look, we partner with high level CEOs. So I think that's very, very
Yeah. And it also helps too, because then you know where to find them. Like you said, LinkedIn is a great place for you versus say maybe TikTok might not be, depending on, I don't know, TikTok would be a great audience, but it's kind of like for you, LinkedIn is where the CEOs are going to be. So that's it helps you figure out where you want to put your time as well, and what events you would want to speak at too, right? Because where's your audience going to be? Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's so cool. So I think that's very valuable. I think when people can get to that point of exactly knowing
Mm-hmm.
who it is, like you said, where can you find them now? And so I target LinkedIn, you spend time there. So that's just the
Mm-hmm.
goal. And that's a great thing about business for us to keep learning. And that's why, like, even when
Yeah.
I think it was you had said, like, hey, like, I think let's get together every month or so and have these conversations. And I was like, that's a great idea, right? Like, we talk about even partnerships, like this is great, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like we have these conversations where we literally learn from each other and we're in the same,
Yeah.
frequency, but we can, we use it, like we're out in the world talking about this. So I think it's so cool because
Mm-hmm.
it's like we get to learn from each other and we're
Yeah.
documenting it at the same time.
Exactly. And then building the relationships too, because I think it was Lapton who introduced us. And so
Mhm.
that was kind of like through networking and building those relationships and then being like, here's who I would love to connect with. And he was like, oh, you should talk to this person. Sugira would be great. So yeah, totally.
Cool. Okay. I think we'll leave it there. You have a fantastic
Awesome.
day. It's Saturday over
Yes, you
there.
too.
You're going to Saturday.
It
We're going
is, yeah.
so,
Sunday for you by now, maybe, right?
yeah, yeah. At that time. Yeah. Cool. All right.
Awesome.
I'm gonna end it here. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And then obviously we're in touch. So yeah, we'll get the next one. And as I said, I'll just put this out on YouTube and we'll see what it does. I'm really excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me and enjoy the rest of your day.
No worries. See ya. Bye.
All right, bye.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're going to love that one.